Okay, are we ready? Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Brett!
Thank you, Sam. Masculinity. All definitions of it talk about a man's ruggedness, talks about a man's muscles, but it doesn't talk about a man's emotions. Why is that? Does society deem that emotions in a male is not manly? I think otherwise. I think that the strength is actually in the emotion. And I'll explain that a bit in a moment. So I grew up in a household with a father who wasn't attuned to his emotions, except for anger, as he chased me with a wooden spoon. Must admit, I probably deserved that one. But when I was 11, I was at school. It would have been about year 6. I remember an occasion where, for whatever reason on this one particular term, I was the kid that wasn't liked. I was the one that everybody wasn't talking to. Now, at school, as a young man or a boy, when you grow up in a household where emotions are not something that you are familiar with, it made it hard as I came home on many occasions throughout those 4 weeks. Because for whatever reason, after the 4 weeks, it was somebody else's turn to not be liked. But coming home many, many days from school, I found myself unable to be able to communicate this with my parents. And my father wasn't really much help either in the process. And the reason why I say this is because I recognize today how this is translated throughout my life until a point where I actually came strong in my emotions. I recognize other areas of my life where I too had found myself around friend circles and they weren't familiar with their emotions. Now, many of us are possibly familiar with all the ridicule and things that happens in Australia, which is deemed to be socially acceptable. But ultimately, that's doing damage to people. Now, I can only obviously speak from the male's world. But one thing that I do know in Australia is that males are 4 times more likely to commit suicide. Now, I believe that this has to do with the fact that as a society, males are deemed not to be able to talk about their emotions, and that it's not manly. As I say, I believe the strength is in the emotion. Because it takes a strong man to be able to stand tall, being aware of the emotions in which he is feeling. It takes a stronger man to be able to convey those emotions. Now, coming to a point a couple of years ago, stepping through from that time when I was in year 6, I found myself in a relationship. And what I found was that this female I had attracted into my life, she took advantage of my emotions. And I say that in the sense that I wasn't strong enough in my emotions. So I allowed her that space to feel her strength. And ultimately, it broke me. It brought me to a place where I'm actually grateful for. And the reason I say that is because to move forward, at times we need to be broken. But I recognize that that was a situation that had transpired from all of those years not understanding my emotions. Because it took me 3 years to work out that this was not a place or a feeling that I wanted to have. As much as I loved her, I had to end that to save myself. So moving forward from that relationship, I did some work on myself. And this is where I found that the strength is in the emotion. As I say, it takes a strong man to be able to say when they're hurting. It takes a strong man to be able to convey that information. But as a society, what I find, it's not manly to talk about your emotions. It's not something that happens, unless it's after a couple of beers, then everybody loves everybody. But I feel it's time for a change. And I feel that it's time that males embrace their emotions. It doesn't make you less manly. I feel it makes you stronger. And that's why I believe the strength is in emotion. Thank you.